My name is Kirk. I was just on with the Real Jason Duncan on his podcast, The Root of All Success. And this is the best podcast I ever did. I can't believe that the time flew by. We talked about how to, from a growth CFO standpoint, how do you define your destination and create the financial flight plan to get there for business owners to overcome the problems that both Jason and I have seen in our careers with all kinds of business owners. So, Jason, I can't thank you enough for having me on. Thank you, my friend.
Welcome to the Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of the Root of All Success, the Real Jason Duncan. The Real Jason Duncan.
I don't. What's the alternative, Jason? If somebody is in that mindset, especially a business owner, where they're saying, I need more money to make money. I don't have access to capital. What's the alternative? Do nothing? Status quo? Right? I mean, fine. We don't all have deep pockets. We don't all have silver spoons, gold spoons, whatever it is, trust. I don't. But if that's the mindset, if that's the belief, then what?
So why is that so prevalent where people say, hey, it takes money to make money? I mean, I tend to believe that, but what makes me wrong about that? Why do so many people believe it if it's not true?
Yeah. I mean, are you asking about the source of that belief?
Yeah. Why do we believe that?
Jason, I think it's deep in our culture, right? Definitely since the 1930s recession. The U.S. started as a colony, right? Scarce resources on your own. For the masses, for most of us, the 1930s recessions, and we even define, I think up until recently, economics as the allocation of scarce resources. So there's all this stuff coming in where it's just all these limits, these beliefs that quite frankly go in, I think at a deep unconscious level, but they play out. I was on a thread yesterday where people were talking about that. We're talking about multi-generational legacy, and people are saying, I can't do it because I don't have money. Now what? Right?
Isn't it? I think maybe what you're talking about, Kirk, is you're talking about when it's used as an excuse not to take action, that's the block. Is that what you're getting at?
That is. And depending on where a person is in their life, if a younger person, man, you're bulletproof. You do got energy, right? And how do you trade that time and that energy to be around the right people? It could be internships. It could be just getting in the right situation. It could be working at the country club. I've heard more than like Jack Daly, more than one person, they work in the country club. They start to wonder, how are these people able to play golf on Wednesday? What are they doing? And start asking those questions, and then they find out that they can get a foothold into something to do better. So then at a different stage, 30s, 40s, 50s, there's a different scenario, right? A 50-year-old, 60-year-old is not going to have the same energy as somebody else, but maybe they have some wisdom. Maybe they have relationships, right? What assets do we have? If you do that inventory, what assets do we have, tangible and intangible, that I don't need the final step. I don't need the clarity to the finish line. I just need to know enough to take the next step.
Well, we're talking with Kirk McLaren today here on the Root of All Success. Kirk is the financial freedom guy, and we're going to be talking a little bit about his journey. He started as an entrepreneur a long time ago mowing grass and turned that into a pretty big thing, and then led him to where he is today, where he's running a company that helps people figure out this financial freedom stuff. So, Kirk, we talked about this provocative idea that it doesn't take money to make money, but I think probably where that come from, and as we talked about, is that don't use it as an excuse, but you have to admit the reality is when you have money and you deploy it correctly, you can make money a whole lot faster with it than without it. You would have to agree there, or are we still 100%. At odds on that?
Prosperity is way better than poverty, scarcity, or anything in between, because then with prosperity, you do have the resources to do what you care about with the people you love. You have the resources to do what you don't love with the people you don't love. But prosperity is a much better on multiple levels, spiritual, life, everything else. Prosperity seems like a better place.
Yeah, I agree. I've had lots of money at times in my life, and I've had times when I didn't have any money at all. And I really, really, really prefer having money.
It's
I think it's a much better place to be for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, so much better. I mean, if you want to go see somebody,
Well,
you go see them. Yeah.
well, so you're the financial freedom guy, and I think that that's probably the reason that is when you have finances, when you are financially free, nobody has anything on you. You're not limited. You can do what you want. You're not limited. Well, you're not asking money permission to go do stuff.
Yeah.
And that really is financial freedom, is when I don't have to ask my money permission to do something I want to do, go a place I want to go. That, to me, that's the definition of financial freedom. What do you think?
Well, I love that. You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask your money permission. That's a great way of looking at it, right? Versus you're telling your money where to go and what to do, and versus the other way around. I love that. I would add to that, financial freedom is having money for the expected and unexpected. I had a couple years back, my Belgian Malinois, we literally left our house for 2 days overnight to meet my son's future in-laws. Came back and found out the Belgian Malinois ate a rug, and it's the kind of rug that has string in it, so it all tangled up in the intestines. Next thing we know, we're at the vet 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's amazing what vets can do. It's amazing what people can do when we're at our best, and they're literally taking the intestines, working through it inch by inch, and putting most of it back in, right? Which is not all of it. 5 feet didn't make it back in, and there's always been a price point. I hear about things what people do for the animals they love. So I kind of had in my mind had a price point. I would never go beyond a certain price point, and that taught me never to say never. Because it was double the price point, then triple, then 4 times. And it's nice to be able to have financial freedom, that was unexpected. It was 4 times way beyond what I ever said I would do. But there's no way. She still had life in her, right? You can see it in her eyes, like, hey, help me out. And so we did that, and I think that's part of financial freedom, the unexpected. And we didn't have to miss the mortgage payment after doing that.
So how did you achieve financial freedom, Kirk?
Well, the first, I look at it, first mountain, second mountain, right? First mountain, 30 years, heads down, mostly with private businesses, figuring out solving problems. In my case, growth CFO, using the numbers to get clarity and confidence on certain options. So did pretty well that way. Got to a point with Richard Rossi, Barbara Harris, pretty significant private education company, and Barbara was 85, so it was time to sell the company and pass it on to the next generation. At that point, I was going to be back. Things were good financially, not great, but good. And I was put the resume together. Going to go back and find another W-2 job, and I kept talking to former business owners. They started calling me, say, "Hey, Kirk, I understand you're available." And these are smaller businesses than what I was working with Barbara and Richard, and started getting just multiple people I worked with in the past or other people I knew, business owners I knew in the community. "Hey, Kirk, can you help me out?" And that's when I started understanding, wow, there's an underserved part of the market here, fractional, and I can create a better solution to serve them. And so really with Foresight CFO, and then what Foresight has led to is the life work and that kind of stuff. That's where I got, before I could breathe. Now, do it by having certain impact to clients. I can breathe easy.
So you started, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, back in high school doing lawn care, and I think your story is pretty phenomenal, because you, in just a few short years, you had 1,500 customers, and 75 employees. That's insane. Tell me a little about that story.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. I mean, so imagine sophomore in high school, a bunch of kids in Houston, Texas, right? Where that's a key point, because Houston's hot, right? There's a lot of people who don't want to cut their lawns in the suburbs in Houston, and with 2 other friends, sophomores in high school, I can do math. One lawn is $20, two lawns is 40, three is 60, then something like that. It kind of keeps going, and like why not, right? The demand was there, so literally figured out a few kind of really innovative operational things. Like first of all, the expensive part of doing lawns was the truck, the equipment, the trailer. I mean, it was a high school kid buying trucks. So we figured out how we run 3 crews on one truck. So we created a piggyback system, and that was like decisive. And each crew had a 10-minute turn on a lawn. So the trucks are just instead of stopping and parking, truck's an asset. If it's parking, it ain't making no money, right? And so by this piggyback system, the truck is just moving crews to the next lawn, picking up the money, going to the next one, and then we ended up getting kind of high density. We had multiple clients, like lots of clients on every block, because our trucks were branded and they were moving, right? They're like mobile advertising. So that was innovative. And then on the client acquisition side, innovative. I figured out, we back in the day, this is before cell phones and all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, flyers, just a flyer on the door, and it doesn't take long. Listen, I'm paying my guys to go door to door to deliver one flyer. What about with another business in the community, kind of a joint venture? What about they put theirs with ours, and they cover all my costs for doing marketing? So now I'm actually making money doing marketing. So I made money doing marketing by putting 2 flyers together, and I had this operating system. I know the term now, like return on the assets, that kind of stuff, velocity of cash. But back then, it just, as a high school student, it just made sense. So 3 years into doing that, I mean, we had 1,500 customers and 75 employees. We had equipment and trucks and land, and pretty good initial entrepreneurial. You're kind of like, wow,
So
I was missing classes. Jason, I was missing classes. The teachers were upset with me. I was running my crews in the summer. As it warms up in the spring. I remember the manager was really upset with me because he doesn't come to class and he's still making A's, right? But it wasn't disrespect, but there was an opportunity, and it was now. Like back what we were talking about. I mean, I didn't make excuses. Didn't have money. Need money to make money. It was now, and we did north of $1 million of revenue per year.
That's crazy. So you're 17, 18 years old. You're doing north of $1 million in revenue. What did you do with the company?
Yeah, I ended up, at the end of the day, it's still lawn maintenance. I didn't know about I could hire managers and this and that. I mean, I was a kid, and you'll hear the thing. I didn't collaborate and brainstorm with other people who were successful until much later in my career. So didn't think about options. Literally sold the business for like very little, and went off to Texas A&M to go to college. And let me tell you what I did not like in life is at that age, being a full-time student. And I'm educated, by the way, multiple degrees and stuff. But at that point, being in college, it's like being in high school. My biggest challenge, so I dropped out of that and actually dropped out of college, joined the Army during the first Gulf War, became a behavioral scientist. And the Army, I always wanted, I love this country. No matter what we have to go through, we'll go through it. We'll come out as better people for it. So I wanted to serve, but I wasn't going to the Army. I was really going from university, which is a different motivation.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur, I know that you have to deal with sales on a regular basis. I mean, every entrepreneur does. And if you aren't paying attention to sales as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be an entrepreneur for very long. But I've got a sponsor of this show called Dub that helps you bring the personal back to sales. If you want to figure out how to improve content creation, improve client trust, improve your sales process, decrease the sales cycle, because we all know time kills deals. If you want to increase client bookings and increase conversions, you need to take a look at Dub. There's a special offer for Dub for listeners to The Root of All Success at therealjasonduncan.com/Dub, and that's DUBB. What Dub does, I've been using this for years. I'm a huge fan, and I'm so honored that they're our primary sponsor of the podcast. But they have helped over 60,000 businesses around the world communicate better, to make sales easier, to make sales more personal. And Dub is built for growing teams. I mean, you can set up video emails, you can set up custom onboarding, you can do admin reporting, anything you need around video and sales and automation. Dub is there. You can try Dub now. Your conversions to sales are waiting. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. And there you're going to get 2 weeks for free to try Dub. Plus, you're going to get 50% off your first 2 months of Dub. You can't beat that. So go check it out. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
So you left college. You were making, I mean, you had so you essentially just shut the business down when you went off to college. Is that what happened?
I sold it. I sold it to my partner's parents bought the company.
Do you mind telling me how much you sold it for?
About 800,000.
Wow. So you're a college guy, like you're going to college. You just sold a business for almost $1 million.
Yeah. And it was divided 3 ways. And then it was not a bad start.
Oh, okay. So the first thing we talked about is it takes money to make money. And you just proved your point. You are a 17-year-old kid and you said, look, I'm just going to go mow grass. You did it and you turned it into a multi-million-dollar business. Now, ultimately sold it for 800, but we all know how that works. I mean, you had over $1 million in revenue. I won't say multi-million, over $1 million in revenue, sold for $800,000 as a teenager. That's insane. But you didn't do that because you had a war chest of hundreds of thousands of dollars to go out and buy equipment. How did you finance the equipment? How did you get into that to start with?
Well, the first is borrow, right? My dad had a lawnmower. And hey, Dad, can I use your lawnmower? Obviously, I'll cut your lawn, and right, that was a given, and cut the other first lawn. It wasn't 1,500 customers on week 1, so it was reasonable. Then that money, we ended up buying. Honda back then made a really good lawnmower, and that thing could from a commercial standpoint, a workhorse and quite good. So use that first money to buy better equipment. So it's investing versus I could have gone. Let me buy the car and go out with the girls and stuff and waste the money. I didn't do much of that. Some of it.
He said much.
Not much. Right?
Which means you did it. You just tempered it a little bit.
It just means
okay. Well, let's look at this. So you sell the business for 800,000. You go off to college. You decide, I don't like this. You go to the Army. You're in the first Gulf War. So it's back in the 90s. As you're dealing with that, but at some point you transition into what you're doing today, where you decided that, hey, I gotta do what I'm doing today. Tell me a little bit about that transition out of Army life into corporate life.
It was relatively smooth. My Army life as a behavioral scientist, I was stationed at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington D.C. So it wasn't like on the front lines in Iraq and that kind of stuff. Thank God I never had any kind of heroic vision of what that's like. I was willing to do it as a citizen soldier. So I'm in D.C., right? So it's that kind of environment. It's still the military, but when I was in the Army, I was going. I finished my undergrad. Basically going full time, but on a part-time schedule, and so I left the Army to go do grad school at Johns Hopkins, their School of International Studies for international relations and economics and all that kind of fun stuff. And they had a thing called a language requirement, and it wasn't English, right? So a second language. And let me tell you what's not natural for me. I mean, I'm still learning English, and so Spanish or anything else, I wasn't going to learn that in a classroom setting. So I ended up finishing the academic stuff a semester early, and I went to Venezuela with literally nothing but a backpack. It wasn't a formal program. It was hey, let me see on the map what countries speak Spanish. Venezuela, sounds good. Back then, Venezuela was good. It's a different place now. And literally, school size, not military backpack, but school size backpack, loaded up a few things, and I had no idea what I was going to do when I landed. Threw my stuff in the backpack and literally lived there for a year based on that, teaching English.
What year was that?
That had to be like 96, maybe 95.
All right. So you come back from Venezuela. Do you speak Spanish now?
I did then. I ended up, go figure. I was supposed to go to Venezuela, then Cambridge University for England for the MBA program. I thought that'd be pretty cool, international and MBA kind of stuff. It was just kind of something fun. And my family's from a very regular background. Mom's a school teacher, dad's a salesman, so they was just doing stuff. And I don't have the money to do grad school, whatever, but whatever, figure it out. And I should have gone to Cambridge first because I went to Venezuela, and Venezuela has some pretty beautiful women. And so I met somebody, and she became my wife. We came back and made our son Don Fernando, and later on Luke Leonardo. So that was kind of the detour. At that point, I came back. Literally, I didn't have any money then. I had $200 coming back out of Army, out of grad school. Money's gone. $200 and got married. Can you imagine getting married on $200, Jason? I didn't.
I did it.
You did it. So you did it. It just seemed like, hey, we'll figure it out.
Yes, that's what we did. We figured it out.
Right, you adapt. And had Don before I had my son, Don Fernando, before I had a job, and I got a job. It took 2 weeks to get a very entry level job. Like I can't. What was that? Ended up doing. Ended up getting like revenue assurance and that kind of stuff for a private telecom company, and just tracked out. But it was credit goes to my wife. She's never been to the USA at all, and she literally left her country with nothing but a purse, and because she was eloping. Her mom and dad didn't know, and so couldn't pack up a suitcase, and that's how we started.
So what happened to the money? You had 800. You had a third of 800 grand. So if I'm doing my math right, that's $240,000. So where did it go?
Grad school.
So that's it. Like it all went into grad
A
school.
lot of it did. I was between the Army, the grad school. I finished undergrad, right? There's like 2 years to finish there, then 2 years of grad school. And Hopkins wasn't cheap, not even back then.
Wow. Now, so for 30 years though, you were running businesses and you're doing the CFO thing. And you talk about, like in your bio, you talk about you found yourself in something what you refer to as the owner's trap.
Yeah.
Which sounds very familiar because I teach about the ironic prisons of entrepreneurship. I wrote the book Exit Without Exiting, as you know. I mean, we know each other.
Yeah.
So like why and how and where did you learn and discover, oh, I'm trapped in the business that I'm running? Like when did that happen? Tell me about that.
What's literally with foresight. I didn't recognize it, in myself because I was just head down, getting things done, that kind of stuff, and not, to give you an example of owner trap. I'd fly into to London for a meeting, and then the same day fly out. I mean, and that's just like I had to get back to do something, and that's not smart. And so it wasn't until I started Foresight and saw these same traits in other business owners where, too many hats. Life is not, working 50, 60 or more hours per week, doing things that they were not born to do. Like a lot of times they get bogged down, administrative or whatever, and started talking to people and looking at like John Worrell's book on Built to Sell had a big influence on the drivers and stuff. And that it's really at that point in my life where I started to learn. This is roughly 9 years ago. I started to learn even more about. I thought I was collaborating before that, but I started to really learn that I wasn't, and how useful expert guides are. Right, this whole self-made man. That's the belief. Self-made man. I go out and do it, and started realizing, boy, that's. Even Luke Skywalker had Ben Kenobi and Yoda and some others, right? And so it sort of realized really the value, like the stuff you do, coaching. I mean, how valuable is that experience? You got more than coaching. You got a program, right? And it's proven and it's adapted to that person. I mean, how useful is that kind of guidance versus let me hit every landmine. Let me just do all the trial and error, right? That's easy. And yeah.
So your company is foresightcfo.com, and foresight, like it looking ahead. I assume that's what that means. Looking ahead, having foresight CFO. So when did you start that company?
I started that in I created a corporation in 2016, January 2016, A
Yeah.
year prior to that, I was doing it as a solopreneur, and that's when Barbara and Richard's company sold that, and then I was back on the street and just started doing like independent work as a solopreneur, with business owners who just started calling me. I didn't have a website or anything, and then on January 2016, I decided, throttle up. There's a real underserved part of the market here. These smaller businesses. I'm gonna definitely 1 million to 5 is a certain thing, but 5 to 20, and then beyond that, 30, 40, 50. Even some of the bigger businesses, they're really underserved with this kind of capability, and they pay a price for it.
So what do you do? What does Foresight CFO do for your client?
Yeah, the problem that we come in on is for a lot of business owners, it's easy to get bogged down. Where Michael Gerber speaks about all the hats and different responsibilities, and so that the day-to-day is a whirlwind, right? It's not feeling good. They're not doing things that are really natural and the kind of things that they have purpose around. And then the same business owner, a lot of time they get into where the money is okay, but it's not great, and they might be struggling with certain aspects of their business, like people and capacity to get the outcome they want, or customer acquisition or access to capital, whatever it is. And if it continues, the business owner ends up just working excessive hours, right? Literally the treadmill that'll never stop. A lot of times they're not staying competitive, and it's even more true now with these 5 emerging technologies like AI and robotics. If they continue like that, the financial pressure starts to grow. The business performance and effectiveness is deteriorating, and they pay a price. Their health, they could pay a price in relationships. A lot of business owners, divorce is high to begin with. Then business owners, I think it's probably higher than the average. I don't know that for sure, but I would think, because the business is taking lots of attention, and maybe people at home aren't getting what they need, right, to feel good about the relationship. And so that's when we come in. There's something where the business owner just knows it's not optimal, it's not effective, they're stuck. And a lot of business owners who are really smart and successful, they're not good at looking at the numbers like the way a financial person would. And so what we do is we figure out what is where's the itch, that number one challenge, the pain point, and then how would a growth CFO help the business owner and their team solve that. And usually that's where we come in on, right? Because that's the itch. That's what they want solved. It's painful enough that not doing something is more painful than figuring out a solution. Then backstage, we're elevating backstage we're doing a couple things. We're doing diagnostics in the business from a growth CFO lens, which is different than other functional leaders in the business. We're looking at like client acquisition. Where's the 80-20, pricing, that kind of stuff, to figure out how effective is this company at acquiring new customers. Where's the kink in the hose? There's always a kink in the hose. There's always a gap. There's always something that can be done better. And an example of this would be that there's a customer in Arlington, Virginia, not too far from where I'm at in Bethesda. You met him. He needs more customers. He's a kind of a print to mail kind of operation. It has 14,000 customers, and it needs more customers. When you look at his customers, you find out the segmentation. Do you want more like these over here? Because these customers, they don't like you, and there's nothing you're going to do that's ever going to make them happy. Then you got the ones in the middle, and then it's the top 20%. You're making 80% of your money on, and you got literally hundreds of different products. They're not buying 100 products. They're buying these 12. So now what? And it's not 20% of the clients drive the outcome. It's actually 4%. Well, who are they, right? So a growth CFO can help that point of clarity. Then working with the peers in the company, like who are they? The voice of the client. The growth CFO is not going to figure that out, but they by using the data to know where to focus in on. Now the marketing person knows. Well, let's go do the voice of the client. Let's find out who that 4% is, and let's let's do more with them. Let's do more of those. We want more clients like that. So we can now target everything we do to resonate with that group. And we can find out what else they want. If you got a couple hundred different products and they're only buying 12 of them, you probably can stop doing a lot of that stuff, right? Life has got easier that way. And maybe there's some products that do fit in your sweet spot that you can, maybe it's a new product, maybe it's an existing product that you can bring to them in a way that's useful to them. So now you got that 4%. Instead of doing 12 different products with you, they're doing 15, 20 products with you, right?
So your role as an outside firm is a fractional CFO that's looking at growth modeling, like how to figure out how to take this to the next level. Is that right?
Yeah, it includes, like from a strategic standpoint, includes the model. Like first of all, destination, like your vivid vision of your future self. Where do you really want to be? What really matters? What's the right role for you in the business? So and then that's very strategic. That's forward looking. Then what's the flight plan to get there? Both go to market and operational and financial. So you can start seeing the trend year to year. This is the flight plan to get there. But on the flip side, we're not consultants, right? We join them we join business owners as their navigator, they're their pilot to this flight, and we're accountable for certain results. Even though we're not a W-2 employee, we're accountable. We have the CEO's best interest at heart. Sometimes it's challenging, peer-to-peer, business owner boss to grow CFO, really challenge so we can break out of stall points. So we're doing the strategic, plus we're operational. We're working with the peers across the company, like sales and marketing, delivery, the people talent aspect of the business. We're bringing our business experience plus our skills with data to help our peers across that company get clarity. And then we play the CFO role. So we're there to make the peers look good. And when they get real clear, here's the one priority for them to take the next step and outcomes, then we can play the CFO role saying, oh, that's a good idea. We got funding for that. And here's how we make sure that the investment for that outcome, that we stay on track for it, that we follow through on it. Here's how we do that. So we work on that level. So we really get we get in deep with the peers across the company and how to really elevate them.
Now you have something that I think you call the life flight plan that you help people with. Could you tell us a little bit about what that life flight plan is?
Yeah, the life flight plan, it's funny. For years, like decades, when I'm working with private businesses as in some financial capacity to the CFO point later on in my career, I always treated the business as this anonymous entity, right? And we need revenue and sales and profit and this kind of stuff. And it wasn't until fairly recently with Foresight I realized, there's a business owner here, and the business owner has a life, within the business and beyond the business has a life. And instead of starting with all the other financial aspects, for doing the budgeting, the planning, to figure out how to engineer profitability, well, what if we really know what the business owner needs financially, right? And there's different levels. There's 5 levels of financial outcome in their household, like vitality, security, freedom, multi-generational. How about we have a way to really figure out, what freedom is for them in a way that's tangible, and that's what led to the life financial flight plan worksheet, because literally answer a few questions and voila, you got a number.
How do you get access to that? How does someone get access to that plan?
Yeah, the best way is email me my email is kirk@foresightcfo.com. I'll spell it FORESIGHT CFO.com. And then if you email me, I'll share that worksheet with you.
So if you are interested in this life financial flight plan, email Kirk. It's KIRK @foresightcfo.com, and just say, hey, I heard you on the Root of All Success. I would like to get that life flight plan. Could you send that to me? And he'll send that to you. So Kirk, thank you for that. I want to ask you, as we get ready to kind of close out our conversation today, some questions about success. This is, after all, the root of all success. So what would you say is the key that helped you unlock success in your life and business?
Yeah, the key is these guides at different points, right? Like literally coaches, programs. One of them is Janet Hogan, who does inner work where I can become aware of what's going on in my head, my beliefs, and I can literally, the minute something becomes conscious, it's up to me now. I can decide A, B, or C, including do nothing. So guides like that. There have been CEO coaches, and at different parts of the journey, different guides can play a role, and that's the number one, because it's those belief systems that really I hear to my son. Okay, my son grew up when we started. There was scarcity. Okay, I didn't have my basic household stuff covered. It was tough. So I can hear when he taught. He's married now. He's an Army officer, leaving the Army in a year, and I hear some of those things, those scarcity things, come up into him. And I said, I recognize that, right? And part of the benefits of what we do, Jason, is we business owners, us, right? We have a chance as we get to different levels of living, we have a chance of bringing other people along. I'm giving an example of my son from a son standpoint, legacy standpoint, but also our employees. What if they could prosper? What if they could be fully aligned in the work they do with you, right? And so I'm going a little bit down a rabbit hole, but it's people who help me get beyond my own blind spots, because I'm sure I have them. I can't see them, but I know they're there.
Well, that's why they're blind spots, and
Yeah.
and so you're not the first person to say that that's key to success. Is that having people, mentors, having coaches, having people speak into your life. And it's interesting that you mentioned Janet Hogan by name, as I know Janet. Janet was a guest number 45 on my show. So if you go back and want to listen to Janet, me and Janet talk, episode number 45, we talked about that. Now, let me ask you a separate question about success, Kirk. How would you define that word success? What does it mean to you?
Yeah. So for me, success means, it literally means I have intimate connections, like I'm really in close with people. So it's just at my fundamental core, I need that. Through that, we're becoming more effective in freedom. But it's those relationships, right? Where the people I care about have time to to really quality time and to do meaningful stuff. So it's so for me, there's some combination of intimate relationships. And I'm talking about clients, my team members. I really know them, and through that, I can help them be more effective. And I speak about financial freedom, but with that is freedom of purpose and freedom of time. So
I love it. Now, by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
I do, and I'm still learning and going up the journey. On the 5 stages of like financial freedom, I'm somewhere between 3 and 4, right? And I got some blind spots, and I'm collaborating with a group of people who've been further down the road with me on this to learn about that. So yeah.
All right. So as we finish up, I'm going to give you kind of the last word, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak some life into the listeners, to give them some advice, some things that they would need to know in order to be successful. So what would you say? Now, you've already talked about having mentors and coaches, so that's off the table.
Yep.
But what is your one piece of advice for an entrepreneur who wants to be successful?
Okay, there's probably a couple of it. First, get clear on that destination, right? I talk about the vivid vision of your future self, like at some, pick a date, whatever is a meaningful date for you. It just literally paint a picture of what are you doing in that moment? Who are you with? What's the environment? What do you hear? What do you see? You might even just talk about how did I get here, right? What are the key things that got me here? And really go deep into how does it feel? Oh my God, it did work. It broke through. It feels great, right? And you might even include parts of your physical health, right? I mean, it does no good to have unlimited money if you got limited health, right? Where it's like, hey, I can't get off the bed because of the back, but there's plenty of money. I mean, that kind of sucks. So,
Yeah.
So I think the starting point is really getting clear on that destination and put, you'll never hear another financial guy say this about, but translate to how does it feel? Because the feelings are the language of the unconscious mind, 65 million years of development. The mind understands that. Not all, the logical stuff is more recent. And then from there, you can start, it's a basic you take the next step, between the destination and where I'm at now, you want to look for the gaps. I know sometimes people put in, it's negative, I'm not there. It's not negative, it's clarity, right? Even in your business, sometimes things will be over, under, up or down. Never have judgment. Just see it clearly. I'm over, I'm under, right? And then the critical thing of why, take action. Same thing in life is create that, look for the gaps. That's going to tell us where the next step is. And then we do business and life, same kind of method. And then put in the habits. We talk about the habits of profitability. And this is where use the numbers, right? Nothing gives more clarity than a number. Like think about any sporting event, the most recent basketball game, and just take away the scoreboard. We're not keeping score. How do we do? You're gonna go debate it after the game? No, we won. No, we won. Right? There's no way. Okay. But so there's clarity with the numbers, like nothing else. And so the best practice, the growth CFO best practice, is have some kind of daily dashboard for your team members where they have their one number that they control, and every day they can see where they're at. Monthly, use the monthly financials like a scoreboard, same kind of thing, over, under. Look, the managers take responsibility for what they control, and they can speak. Here, I projected X, I'm at Y actual. Here's the difference, the number story, and here's why, and here's the action I'm going to take, right? And so there's that level of like an ownership. Okay, so if you're doing that with the the dashboard, the monthly financials, then your team will have the skill to engineer profitability going forward. And so I'm talking about the bad word budget. So I don't call it a budget. I call it a financial flight plan budget. You can engineer it looking 12 months out, and you look at your basic baseline expectations, and then the fun starts. Do the what if. What if we go into this market? What if we do more with our existing customers? What if? And you'll see what adds up, and you'll see what creates prosperity to hit those household incomes and valuation of your business in a way that's not possible without doing that on some level. And keep it simple. Don't make models complicated, but then you lose the benefit of a model. If there's a third best practice, it's measure the cash velocity in your business. How fast are you collecting and you're building and collecting clients? How fast, when you build, do you collect? How fast does your inventory come and go? Because that's the more positive cash flow you have in your business, the less strain you're going to have, especially as you scale and you're consuming more cash. Plus, here's the bonus plan: is for every additional dollar of positive cash flow, you're going to get paid some kind of multiple of that in your the second payday, your valuation, right? No matter how you pass the torch, employees buy it or third party buys it. For every dollar you make over here in profit of additional cash velocity, you're going to get a multiple, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times, depending on your industry, and that could set you up.
Yeah,
yeah,
indeed. Well, Kirk, it's been a pleasure talking with you, man. Kirk McLaren is the financial freedom guy. Go check him out at ForesightCFO.com. And if you want a copy of that free plan that he was talking about, that life flight plan, email him at Kirk, K-I-R-K, at ForesightCFO.com. Just say, hey, I heard you on the Root of All Success, and I would like to get a copy of that plan for free, and he'll send it out. Kirk, thank you so much for being here on the show. Thank you for sharing with us your story of success. Congratulations on what you've accomplished, and I appreciate your mission in this world. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you so much. I am the Real Jason Duncan. We'll talk to you guys next time on the show when I talk with yet another very successful entrepreneur about his or her journey to success. I'll see you next time. And remember, as always, Jesus is King.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.